Hello everyone, Tom with Capo Fetish. Today on the channel, we're going to talk about 70s hit singles lost in rotation. So when my wife and I go on road trips, there's one channel that we can always agree on. Sirius XM 70s hits, right? We grew up in that era. We know all those AM hits. We know the hits back and front. But like most stations, they always play the same 100 songs. And you know, throughout the years, when you listen to other stations that play a lot of 70s songs, hits, albums, and such, you pretty much hear all the same tracks. And you notice over time, you'll notice over time that there's certain ones that they never play for some reason. Like they've just been completely just axed out of the playlist forever till the end of time. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I've got 10 here to feature from the 70s. And I like most of these. Some of these are some real guilty pleasures. But I think they're all cool in their own way, and they very seldom ever get played anymore. I don't hear them even on my TV radio station 70s channel, at least very often, very seldom. We're going to start off here with a real gem from 76, a definite guilty pleasure on my end. It's from a band named Silver, and the song is called Wham Bam Shang-a-Lang. Really catchy chorus. Here's the original single on Arista. It's on the light blue label. This is their very first label, I believe. And then they changed different colored schemes over time. But this track was written by a guy named Rick Giles. He was a country singer-songwriter. You've got John Baddorf on vocals. He was part of this folk duo in the early 70s. They put out a few albums called Baddorf and Rodney. He's singing lead vocals on this track. We've got Brett Midland on keyboards, and he would later go on to join the Grateful Dead. And then you've got Tom Ledden, the brother of Bernie Ledden, on bass. So just kind of a one-hit, one-album band here, I think. I don't think they put any other albums out. I think this was their only true hit single. But it's just great pop fluff from 1976. I mean, it's up there with all those other like pop fluff tracks like Moonlight Feels Right by Starbuck. And, Let Your Love Flow. All those tracks, anybody growing up in that era would know were all over AM, and it's kind of like a soundtrack to your childhood. So this one here is fantastic, though. Pull it up. There's this really great, it sounds like a slide guitar that opens up the track. And then John Baddorf comes in with his vocals. But yeah, it's just a fantastic little piece of 70s fluff here. Wham Bam Shang-a-Lang from the band Silver from 1976. And number 16. Another one, too, is the follow-up. Now, there was no bigger hit, no song during the summer of 1979 that was played more than My Sharona by the Knack. I mean, it was on constantly. And their follow-up single got a lot of airplay, too, but you never hear it anymore. And that is Good Girls Don't from 1979. And it had a ton of airplay during this time. You very seldom listen to it a little bit or anymore. But it's interesting about the Knack is that back in the late 80s when my band was rehearsing, we were rehearsing in Reseda, California, in this kind of dingy little rehearsal hall. And down the hall, occasionally we would hear the Knack rehearsing as well. You know, they were not as big as they used to be. They were playing small clubs. And then it would happen like 2 days later, I would go see the Kinks in Santa Barbara Bowl, and they would open for the Kinks. But we would hear My Sharona. We'd hear the whole Get the Knack album being played while we were rehearsing in the next room. And I think we saw Doug Fieger, or we shook Doug Fieger's hand or something like that. I remember seeing him. But yeah, Good Girls Don't. Good follow-up track. Don't hear it very often. And I think it was like almost a top 10, like around 11 on the charts. And these are all U.S. charts, by the way, Billboard U.S. charts that we're talking about today. A song that caused quite a stir, but it hit number 2 in 1977. One of my all-time favorite singer-songwriters, Randy Newman, his song Short People on the Warner Brothers label. The song caused quite a stir. Obviously, it was just a satire about prejudice, but that's kind of how Randy Newman is. It's all this dry wit. And if you listen to the Sail Away album, it's just all over that, all over, what's the other one after that? Good Old Boys and on. But Short People, yeah. A lot of threats, perhaps death threats, kind of similar to XTC's Dear God when that came out. People were not happy about this. I remember seeing him play this on Saturday Night Live. I think he like stuck his tongue out like, screw you guys, you know, if you can't take a joke. But yeah, great track. Short People, and living in PC 2025, we're never going to hear this song, I don't think, again on the radio. So I think that might be part of the problem here. This one has been kind of like targeted, should not be played ever again, but it's a fantastic song, and it's off a fantastic record called Little Criminals. If you've never heard that particular Randy Newman album, check it out. A really grisly, just horrific kind of track here from 1971 by a band called Blood Rock. DOA is the song. And it's about a man who temporarily survives a mid-air collision. And as sirens abound throughout the song, he's talking about his experiences as he's slowly going down to meet the Grim Reaper. So really kind of terrifying little track here from 1971. I think there was somebody else that covered this song, but I can't remember. But this one just barely graced the top 40, and you never hear this track on the radio, ever. Blood Rock, DOA from 1971. Another one too, I used to cover this band, this particular song with my band in the late 80s, and we did like kind of a punk rockish version of it. And this is by the 3 Degrees, When Will I See You Again? This was a huge hit, a top 5. And even if I listen to like a soul station, I'll put on a soul station occasionally, I never hear this track. Maybe once in a blue moon, and it was a huge hit, and it's a fantastic track. They're kind of like doing kind of like a Supreme's 1970s version here. You know what I mean? The harmonies, the whole production, it has that kind of Philly soul vibe. So great track from 74 by the 3 Degrees. When Will I See You Again? Another just great track that you very, very seldom, or at least I very seldom hear anymore on any kind of radio syndicate. Joni Mitchell. This may have been her second hit. Now, this wasn't a huge hit, but I think after Big Yellow Taxi, this was her second hit before her hits on Court and Spark. So great track here. You Turn Me On, I'm a Radio. I believe David Geffen said something to the effect that he wanted a single out of her, and this is the one that she produced. And what is really cool about it is there's a harmonica on there, which you don't really hear much on a Joni Mitchell album. Even her early albums, you don't hear a lot of harmonica. So just a great pop track, really unique kind of structure going on. And what's really cool is the flip side has her song Urge for Going. This is the first time this track was ever featured on any 45 or album recorded back in '67. So it's kind of a little treat. Great single, great B-side, You Turn Me On, I'm a Radio by Joni Mitchell from her album For the Roses, which I think is one of her greatest albums. Alrighty, next we've got the very first 45 I ever bought when I was probably about 5. And I went to the Sears department store in Canoga Park, California with my dad. He was in the craftsman section. He would always look at tools, and he was obsessed with tools, and he'd be in that section. I'd be in the record section looking at 45s, and I remember handing this to my dad going, will you please buy this? I had no idea who it was. I just liked the label. I liked that ABC Dunhill label. And I just picked it out. It ended up just being a fantastic track, and it ended up being a hit as well. And it's by the Grassroots. The Grassroots had a lot of cool little hits throughout the 60s and early 70s. They're kind of like Three Dog Night. You know, it's just several songwriters writing for this one kind of, you know, singing group kind of thing. But Temptation Eyes, also the Replacements. The Replacements did a cover of this as well. So great track. First single ever bought. It's looking a little worn here, but yeah, you never really hear this too much either on 70s channels, hits, etc. Another one that was just really huge, #1 hit, and another one too, like on soul stations I listen to. Never hear it barely. Boogie Fever by the Silvers from 75 on Capitol Records. Just great pop bubblegum soul. You know, I mean, when I bought this when I was 10 or 11, I mean, this is kind of stuff that kids that age go nuts for. Just really catchy, upbeat music. So another one here, Boogie Fever by the Silvers. I think they were like a 6 or 7 piece band, kind of like a Jackson 5 or like a Jackson 7. So Boogie Fever, Silvers, great little track here from 75. Another one too, and I probably have a reason or know why this song is never played anymore. It was played a lot back on K-Rock, back in the late 70s, early 80s. Barely hear it anymore. It was about a school shooting in 1978 in San Diego, California. And when they asked the shooter why she did it, she says, "I don't like Mondays." So we've seen a lot of that since. And probably, yeah, this is probably why it's not played. But it's a good song nonetheless, written really, really well. Great chorus, but yeah, very, very, really, very kind of weird subject matter. So another great track that's barely played from 1979 by the Boomtown Rats. I Don't Like Mondays. And then this track here was fairly big, still gets a little bit of airplay. Bob Welch's Sentimental Lady. This was originally on the Fleetwood Mac album Bare Trees in 1972. Great version. That version's great with Christy McVie. And I think she's even singing on this version too, but this is more well produced. This is 1977. I love this track, but the flip side got a substantial amount of airplay back in the day as well, but you hardly hear it anymore. Off the same album, Hot Love, Cold World. Great little pop track from Bob Welch. That album, French Kiss, actually is not a bad album. It has a handful of really cool, catchy tracks, but I never really heard anything else from Bob Welch after that album. And he's no longer with us, but I do like some of his stuff he did with Fleetwood Mac, like Hypnotize is such a great track. There are those songs here and there throughout the Bob Welch, Fleetwood Mac era that are pretty cool. So, Hot Love, Cold World from Bob Welch. If you have any more to add to the selection, let me know in the comments section. Songs you don't really hear anymore on 70s hits. And if you dig the content across the channel, please press subscribe. It costs nothing. As always, thank you so much again, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.